So we're here at Beachy Head pub, and we're by a window, and outside the window is gorgeous sloping green scenery down to the chalk cliffs, a lighthouse on the marvellous sea, looking misty and peculiar.
And the sun is reflecting off it. So we're back where we were at the end of season 1, aren't we?
Minus biting flying ants, which is really good news.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so 4 years ago, July 2021.
Was it?
And we're at the end of our 5th season, and if we sound a little tired, it's because we probably are. But
and we've had a couple of relaxing drinks to celebrate the end of yet another season.
I wasn't going to give that one away. Now we've said it. We've had some cracking guests, haven't we, this season?
We have. Who sticks in your memory?
It's hard to pick people out, isn't it, really? I think quite early on in the season, I spoke to Tishani Doshi, and she does stick in my mind because I hadn't read her work before, so it was such fun to get to know her work, and she was such an extraordinary guest, and I don't know, hard to say really, she just really stuck in my mind.
She was a dancer as well, wasn't she?
Multi-talented, that's right. Yeah. And her book, her collection, A God at the Door, was just so wide-ranging and so lush. The language, it was so rich, and she was so charming to interview.
I liked talking to Danez Smith. I was slightly apprehensive about talking to them before the interview, but Danez proved to be just such a lovely, affable person. But it's interesting, that sense of they come from a completely different background, in the US, talking about their experience as a black person and so on. But, how quickly poetry allows them to build a bridge with the listeners of all kinds. That's one of the amazing things about poetry, is that, it can speak directly to the soul of somebody in a different part of the world or a different time and so on.
From a different culture.
But I just was inspired by their work, and it was a lovely conversation to have.
Should we just have a little listen to some of that?
Yeah, let's dip back in. One of the brilliant things about this book for me as well was I had to learn all kinds of things while reading it. So, which is one of the things I love about poetry, is I found myself exploring the history of the do-rag.
Mm-hmm. I imagine you've never had to wear a do-rag in your life.
No, the cultural imperialism of the USA is alive and strong.
Yes.
I was discovering things about Solange Knowles and a halo-like crown over a do-rag and so on. Anyway, in your poem, Jesus Be a Do-Rag, can you explain in your own words what a do-rag is?
Sure. A do-rag is basically a nightcap that a lot of black folks wear to protect our hair at night, typically made of silk or some fabric that's been approximated towards silk. A nice little polyester situation. But yeah, it just protects your hair from breakage. That's its functional use, right? And I think it has also become sort of a stylized icon in the black community as well. There's a beauty in wearing your do-rag in the daytime, and even nowadays you see sort of designer do-rags that are literally just meant to be fashion over function, which I think is what this poem thinks about. It's after the poet and singer Jamila Woods, who's a good friend, and if you don't know her music or her poetry, you should definitely check her out. Jesus be a do-rag and be mighty. Black, saddened savior stretched around my scalp. Take me in your hand and make me like the water. Be a way to tell my people I am their people. Sheer cape falling down my neck, make me superhero. Captain, save a hoe from myself. Rag to make my unragged mornings. Let me wake up black and alive and thinking I'm cute. Lord of lords, be a fence around my fly. Be shield, be rock, be spell, be a dark and lovely magic, sweet Jesus. If you God, be God. Let whatever reaches toward us to end us slip pass. Let America drown in our waves. If a bullet must touch us, let it graze soft as a bristle brush. Let us spill no blood on a day we feel beautiful and we be beautiful. Let us know it. Be caskets sharp and banned from early caskets. No black person will die in this poem, but these waves might hurt somebody. Watch yourself. Swim good. Be happy we sleep with these rags on. I heard a story once about a boy who brushed his hair for 40 days and 40 nights, and when he finally slept, he forgot to wrap his ocean up. Same night, mamas started crawling from his hairline carrying babies. Men climbed out his waves like they had just jumped off the boat. A wet army necromance from naps. See, this hair is a right kind of holy. See, it's not hair at all. On top of our dome, a prayer carrying us home.
That's fantastic. I love the kind of surrealism of all these people creeping out from the hairline.
Yeah.
It's just a wonderful vision.
Thank you. I mean, that's just like, capitalizing on language's possibilities, right? So another thing about do-rags, right, is that you use it, you develop these like waves in your hair that we call waves. So there's several mentions to waves in the poem, right? And that's just like, just making a little, waves. That's an ocean. It's also in the hair, right? So, what little portals and doors does the language allow opportunity for in a poem, right?
Yeah.
If I can talk about my waves, can that relate to the waves in the ocean? And then you end up with something a little surreal.
Someone else who had a big impression on me was Isabel Galleymore.
Yeah, her book was fabulous, wasn't it? That idea of cuteness.
That's right, Baby Schema. It was just so original and entertaining, but also I read it through first and it was entertaining and it drew me in. And then when I started rereading, I felt there were so many other themes going on, and it made some really serious points, which I was delighted by.
Yeah, and as somebody who likes the sort of horror genre, the idea that cuteness could kind of blur into actually weird or even scary things.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah.
Some of her cute things had a really sinister undercurrent to them. And there was that poem in there about going to see Disneyland, wasn't there, with was it a sort of blackbird at the end looking at her askance or something?
Let's refresh our memories with a bit of that.
Yeah.
I think we just need to take a little step into the darker territory here, and maybe you could read this poem, Squeeze-a-Mole.
Yeah, that would be my pleasure. Squeeze-a-Mole. I had left the house, citing a walk. 6 p.m, a few degrees above freezing. On somebody's dashboard, a soft toy, lilac-furred and smiling. Baby monkey-esque, a breast measure of squishiness. It possessed an explicitly loving gaze I might have judged mildly obscene, but that evening I needed to find the soft toy benign. The soft toy was eager to love me, and it did so, I felt, comprehensively. In that moment, on the street, a stranger passed between us, and I saw how its moon-eyed look remained, adoring him just as much as me, presumably capable of adoring wholesale. It was so indiscriminate in its loving, I couldn't help feeling angry, disappointed in myself.
The soft toy was eager to love me. The language, you've got the breast and the squishiness and the seduction, and I just thought, oh God, even just the words soft and toy are straight from the world of porn and the male gaze. As soon as you let your mind wander into that aspect of it, you see something you don't want to see, really.
Yeah, there's definitely that side to cuteness, I think, where the kind of innocence and the erotic can come together in quite disturbing ways often.
Yeah. And the way that the speaker feels disappointed in herself, like you've given in to something that you shouldn't have done, or just you've believed in something that was ridiculous. It's quite sort of sad, really.
On the one hand, I think there's definitely that way of thinking about cuteness where we're sold a bit of a lie and the love that this soft toy is giving us is not real, and actually, kind of unpleasant and for everyone and meaningless. But in other ways, it's curious because when I wrote this poem, I was thinking about another poem. And this was a poem by D.H. Lawrence, which a friend had sent it to me because he knew I was interested in looking at cuteness. And this poem by D.H. Lawrence is about a French bulldog, so inherently cute. And it's a poem called Bibbles. And Bibbles is the name of this French bulldog who D.H. Lawrence fell in love with, I think, because it was so cute, even though cute wasn't necessarily a word that he probably would have used.
Yeah.
And this poem that he wrote was a kind of rant about how cute this dog was. This dog was wriggling and jiggling and, just loving everybody. But for D.H. Lawrence, that was a problem because he felt that by loving everyone, that dog wasn't faithful to him. And so this dog, Bibbles, becomes kind of a metaphor for an unfaithful woman. And it actually becomes quite a violent and unpleasant poem towards the end.
Gosh.
And so, on the one hand, there's that strange sexualization of cuteness that can occur. And then I suppose on the other, there's the possibility that cuteness is actually so generous, by loving everyone, it isn't discriminate.
Another book and interview that I keep returning to in my mind is with Richard Scott talking about his book that broke into shining crystals.
Oh, yes.
And I was just absolutely blown away by this, especially the first section where he's creating a series of still lives that are based on sort of paintings from the 18th century and 17th century. But they're infused with, sort of current and remembered trauma from now. And I've never seen anything. The poems are sort of static, in terms of they're looking at still lives and thinking about still lives. And the third section of his book is about crystals and looking about the hard crystallized things. But these two static sequences are absolutely full of life and movement and kind of shifting around in time. And I found the contrast between that stillness of, say, a still life and the kind of boiling feelings and emotions that they created to be really inspiring.
We're going to get a little reminder of that.
Yeah, I think we should.
Still life with 3 roses. The 3 stages of this rose, bud, bloom, overblown, are like the 3 stages of this boy, pre-trauma, molestation, PTSD. Only none of this was petalled or remotely like these extraordinary shades sliding from blush to rhodonite to Empyrean. Only perhaps this being seen, the pearlescent beetle alights on the filament, was unexpectedly beautiful. Drop of photorealistic dew on the stem. Maybe these roses are like the stages of grooming, friendship, and then I can't quite remember exactly what came next. Corolla edge ringed in a deeper and bleeding colour, quite how he made it all happen. Delicate sepal, pistil. Also, I know I am not supposed to tell anyone. Crackle your rose hips scattered about the base of the urn. So don't tell anyone, Richard. A darkness, pink, rotate, gaping, that makes the petals of my mouth wind shut when they should be screaming.
So many thoughts spill out from that for me. The first one was roses have long been a symbol of secrecy. Years ago I worked for Architect's Journal, and one of the journalists said Romans used to hold a rose above a table to signify secrecy. That's why we have those roses in the middle of private rooms on the ceilings. And there's that legal term sub rosa, that you're under the rose, which means it's secret. Then there was this thought about the boy, pre-trauma, molestation, PTSD. There's 3 stages. How in something like a static image, you've managed to sediment all this time. It's not an easy stillness. We're not looking at something frozen. It's a kind of almost moving stillness, if that's not completely mad. What drew you to that?
Yeah, I guess part of the work of The Secrets was figuring out why I was so drawn to still life paintings as a genre. Like, I've always been incredibly moved by them. When I'm in a gallery and I see a still life painting, I almost feel shocked or something by them. And I think part of the reason is because something about the varnished, frozen, or sort of caught in amber quality represents, I suppose, how I think the brain can freeze a traumatic experience, a traumatic moment can freeze hurt. Then it sort of lives in the brain, ambered and frozen, and can sort of constantly be unwittingly recalled back to. But you're right, it's not just the stillness in the still life painting. There are also these incredibly vivid thing. Another of the reasons I love still life paintings, they're so colourful, they're so vivid, they're so dense with meaning. Like, looking into a still life painting, I kind of like fall into it.
I don't know if you... Dear listener, I don't know if you're getting the full ambience here of the amiable chat going on around us, various languages, and then we've got the
piped music.
The generic 80s music. What is it about 80s music? Seems to be everywhere at the moment.
It's like, the youth of the pub goer, isn't it?
Well,
really?
It's ridiculous though, isn't it? I mean, what was that, 40 years ago?
Yeah.
I mean, when I was in my 20s, we didn't listen to stuff that was 40 years old, because that would have been like the war or something, wouldn't it? Ridiculous.
It would have been like Dixieland or something.
Anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, listening to Richard Scott there and what you said about him, and I mean, he's a fabulous poet and won prizes, and we've had quite a few prize-winning poets on the pod over the years.
Troublers, yeah.
We have people who've actually won stuff or been shortlisted, and this season we spoke to Isabelle Baafi, and she's up for the Forward Prize for the Best First Collection at the moment, shortlisted.
Yeah. That hasn't really guided our choices of who we talk to too much, though, has it?
No, it hasn't, because sometimes people have won the prizes after we've talked to them.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's any causation.
Well, it's that little bit of fairy dust from Planet Poetry. Probably doesn't hurt.
But, yeah. But no, Isabel, she was on talking about, back in April, I think, talking about her collection, Chaotic Good. I think we should just remind ourselves a little about that.
Why not?
So this was inspired by an almost encounter I had in April 2020 at the beginning of the pandemic. To the woman sobbing into her phone on a park bench. I write the poem to forget you, to study you, to keep you safe, whichever you can forgive. With a meter that mocks your palpitations, a slant rhyme placing two on top of you. Because like you, I have never been as perfect as a firstborn son in his mother's eyes. I too know what it's like to mop a man's mouth with your sleeve. I know the scabs you worry. You lie so well it becomes real, and scorn the women who pray for a man like yours. Broad-smiled and many-faced, fork-tongued with tangled eyebrows, steady hands. What even teeth he has, and how exacting their bite. He had a wisdom deep enough to stand in, and you did, leaning on his shoulder as you stepped into your tomb. Mangled as only a man could make you. No one knows it like me. How you curl into him like a child and watch the world fall in love with his light. How some nights you still wait for it to find you. When he beckons, you approach on all fours. When he shines on you, you scatter.
And there are so many things here that we meet again throughout the book. The man with many faces and his teeth and his bite. There's something so creepy about that phrase. I know too what it's like to mop a man's mouth with my sleeve. This suggests not just kind of subservience, but something quite animalistic. This idea of eating and consuming food is an image we revisit often in the book, isn't it?
Yeah, I find that my work draws from that quite a bit. And it's, as you touched on animalism, I think it's because it's such a primal need, that kind of urge to consume and the need to sustain yourself. And this question of what extent we're willing to go to in order to do that, especially for those of us who are not vegetarians, like last weekend, I had some octopus and it was lovely. And then last night I had a dream in which my bathroom and my bedroom were covered in octopuses and squids. And I was like, oh God, is this them coming back to get me? So, but yeah, I think also by exploring these questions of hunger and desire and consumption, it's ways of looking at sociological questions of connection, acceptance, power, belonging, because food is such a central part of society and life and family and the home. So it was a natural conduit in a way for me to tap into as I was exploring the themes in this book. Also because I was thinking about the role of women in the domestic space and in society as well. So yeah, food and consumption became, they just arose quite naturally.
So, season 6, what's that shaping up to look like?
Season 6. Yes, interesting, isn't it? I'm sure no one's going to be surprised to hear that you and I, Peter, we've put a lot into this podcast, but we both each have our own creative practices to think about and to nurture, and we perhaps need a little more space, I think, going forward, as they say.
It's come to a time in our lives where we both need to focus on our own creative projects a bit more than we have done, and actually recording and producing 5 seasons of podcasts has been very time consuming. So we just wanted to put some love into our own work for a while. I'm also going to be cuddling my little grandson, who's just been born recently. We're not, rest assured, dear listener, we're not breaking up with you, but after 5 seasons, we've got an enormous treasure trove of rich interviews.
We have.
Just keep your ears peeled. We haven't gone anywhere. We're just kind of focusing on other things.
Yeah.
There'll still be archive material repeated and new episodes to look forward to.
So perhaps all that remains to be said is thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you for listening.
We'll be back for season 6 at some point.
We're being very mysterious at the moment, but yeah, one way or another. You can't get rid of us like that. We'll be back.
We'll be back before the end of the year, for sure.
And thank you so much for listening if you have done. And don't forget to tune into past episodes. There's an enormous treasure trove of episodes.
There is.
And on that promotional note, bid you a glorious summer holiday. And
happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Summer holidays.